Welcome to Book Club The Yappening, a podcast where we discuss books and yap about life as we please. We want to make sure this remains a safe space, so please see the description for trigger warnings and helpful links below. A reminder, we will be spoiling this book, so pause, go back to read, and come back to yap. Welcome to The Yappening, our lovely yappers, our loves of our lives.
Yes. Nick, what's your pin?
What's your pins today?
I don't know. An Oni character with Japanese text I can't read.
Let me see. Sorry, I gotta touch you. I just got Mira na la. No?
What's that mean?
Mm-hmm. Mira na la no. I don't know if there's another kanji. My eyesight's bad.
Great. All right.
Some Japanese.
Yeah.
I can read it. I doesn't mean I understand it.
And that is because today we are doing Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lee Baker, our queen who also brought us Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang.
I was going to say that name sounds familiar.
Yeah, honestly, just everything she writes is so beautiful and poetic, and she's fantastic. And she has like another book that's about to come out soon, hopefully, and I'm very excited. All right, well, starting off, trigger warnings, obviously, check those, please. This is also really surreal for the majority of the book. We will get to the end and things will be explained and it'll be good, but don't take things super literally, because some parts are full fever dream territory. And I'm very specifically reading this disclaimer for Nicholas so he's not asking silly questions because things don't make sense because they're not supposed to. So
Hey, don't ask silly questions. What is my job here?
I know, right? But just turn off your literal brain and just.
I guess my other job is making silly observations or asking silly questions, and then you going, well, actually, you're not that far off.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, definitely make predictions, but like, you know, if things seem strange, it's because they are. Also unreliable narrators, etc. Okay. Picture it. Sorry, I was psyching myself up to say this name. Picture it. Kagoshima, Japan. A house behind the sword ferns, present day. The house was nearly 2 centuries old. Inside the house was a man, a murderer, and a stain. The stain by the kitchen door was a dark, narrow line, as if red wine had splashed there. Lee Turner uses his thumb to scrape off a bit of the stain, and like any sane and rational person, he sticks it in his mouth. Cora would never. Lee mostly tasted varnish, but there was the distinct taste of blood in there. Our guy Lee here sometimes sees things that he considers to be anomalies, things that just don't make logical sense. The house had sat unoccupied for over a century before his father moved in yesterday, so there realistically is no reason that there is a blood stain that Lee can still taste blood on, right? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Century-old blood and varnish.
Yeah.
Breakfast of champions.
Next, we're going to be feeling brains.
It's my metal band name, Blood and Varnish. Okay.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Thanks. So he thinks back to the school stairwell. There was so much blood for him to clean up, and he did a really good job cleaning it. He would have never left a stain like this to be found. Lee finds it easier to think of James as a corpse rather than his roommate. James had green eyes, past tense, because Lee had smashed them until they burst. This is another anomaly. Lee liked James. No one killed without purpose, so there was a reason, but Lee cannot remember it. He also can't remember where he put James's body. Lee's father never looked at Lee for very long. He believes it's because he looks too much like his mother who no longer exists.
He can't remember where.
Huh?
He can't remember where you put the body either.
Right. I mean, you know. Let's see. So, okay, she had just been declared dead last week. They'd never found a body. The theory was that she was knocked out and crammed into a suitcase. Lee hoped that his mother was still alive for a time, but once he heard his mother's voice, he knew that she was gone because she couldn't be haunting him if she was still alive. She asked Lee to let her out. Lee...
Okay, that makes sense. Because I'm wondering, like, we don't know what happened to the body. She must have been stuffed into a suitcase. They're very specific, but that would make sense.
Yeah, there were also... So they were basically staying at a hotel in Cambodia that was like out on the beach. And so when the police came to investigate, the only traces that they really found were two tiny lines leading away off into the forest. So like someone was dragging a suitcase essentially. So there's that. There's also like when we get to the end, we'll like unpack a little bit more. No pun intended.
Could have also been one of those hoverboards with the two wheels just.
Yes, definitely. Um All right, so Lee will also make weird comments about his own appearance. He very frequently says that he's tall and skinny with eyes that make him look like a troll that was found under a bridge. So, like, he just very much feels like he looks like a monster, and he feels like he is secretly a monster, has always been a monster type of thing. So he thinks that that's part of the reason his dad can't really look at him. Like, aside from him looking a lot like his mom, I guess she was hideous too, maybe, probably not, but just given what we know about Lee's dad. So anyways, his dad claims that he moved here to be close to his girlfriend Hina's family. We'll also come to learn that his father is a creepy white man with a fetish for Japanese women. Lee knows that them moving to Japan for this reason is a lie because he can always tell when people are lying. Despite the abandoned state of the house, the flowers still grew healthy and tall. Marigolds, summer lavender, buttercups, tulips, and the sword ferns. Hina noted that it was strange that all of the flowers were at bloom at once, as if they were stuck in all seasons at the same time. Fast forward a bit, Lee brings his suitcase into his room. He goes to open the closet to
Mom,
stash.
get out of here.
Right, yeah, to stash the suitcase, but when he opens the closet door, he's face to face with a cement wall. Obviously that's strange, right? Because if there's a closet door, like why is there just a cement wall? Like there's literally no closet, just wall. So he's like, well, that's dumb. So he sticks the suitcase into a dark corner of his room, and he decides that he's gonna head into town on foot to get a new SIM card for his phone. Lee heads out into the yard, but once he steps off the porch, his shoes sink into mud that clings to his steps. As he gets to the gate, though, he hears someone call him, asking to be let out. Lee turns around and he looks back at the house and he notices that the house is really, like, oddly gray. Weird stuff is going on with the house. Windows are there, like, from the inside, like specifically he looks back and he's looking at his room and there's not a window, but from the inside he knows that there is in fact a window because he remembers seeing like light on the floor. Or he hears like the sword ferns brushing up against the walls, but when he's outside the sword ferns are way too far away to be even reaching the walls of the house at all. So there's just like kind of some strange spooky ooky stuff happening with that. Let's see. So as he turns to make his way out of the yard again, he hears Hina call him from the porch. She asks if he will help her make dinner, and he decides like, okay, cool, I'll just go get a SIM card at another time. And he also is very much like, nobody calls or texts me anyways, like nobody likes me, I have no friends, so like it doesn't even really matter anyways.
Oh, what a sad sack.
Right. We learn here that his father is an East Asian studies professor who specializes in Japanese history. I'm also not 100% certain, but it does feel like it is implied that this is where his dad specifically finds his girlfriends, is like through his career.
I thought you were going to say that his central study is Japanese women.
I mean, it might as well be. Anyways, so one of his dad's former girlfriends didn't speak English, really. Lee ended up learning Japanese just so that he could talk to her. Eventually, he was significantly more fluent in Japanese than his own father was. Let's see. And then once Lee realizes this, he wonders why his dad is spending years with women that he can't even speak to. It's almost like, you know, he doesn't see them as people that he needs to be having conversations with, right? So anyways, Hina was different from the other girlfriends though. She seemed to understand Lee, even like him. Like, he very much is like, well, all of his girlfriends have been really nice to me, but it's because like they're trying to get in good with my dad, so they're nice to me because they have to be, not because people like me. But he's like, Hina seems to genuinely like him. So he's like, she's not pretending to like me. She like actually seems to like me. And then there's also this super cute thing where he's like, Hina already like knows what I want before I know what I want. So when she first started dating his dad, she would bring him pieces of like sea glass and like sharp shards of like seashells.
Aw.
And he was like, this is weird. And he puts them in a jar. But once the jar was full of all of the sharp objects, he's like, oh my God, I love this. I wanted this. I didn't even realize I was going to want this. I don't know how she knew I was going to want this. So we honestly,
I love sharp things.
I mean, indubitably.
It's probably so pretty to look at.
I know, right. So, Hina is not like other girls. Anyway, so just random stuff he keeps in a jar. Let's see.
Like his mom.
Right. Just like his mom. There's at a point where he's like, Hina's a lot smaller than my mom. She could definitely fit in a carry-on. Like, there's just suitcases. There's also a lot of salt happening.
Just normal people thought.
Just normal people stuff and things.
Stuff and things and other things.
Yes. Well, they're waiting for dinner to finish, though. Hina asks Lee if he wants to hear a ghost story, and he immediately says yes. And this is another example of Hina knowing what he wants before he knows what he wants. But he is very excited to hear a ghost story. So she leads him out of the house, and he has to duck in some areas to avoid hitting his head on the ceiling. And Hina laughs every time he ducks. He mumbles under his breath that he's too tall for Japan. And she is basically like, don't flatter yourself. Like, we're in a samurai house and the like ceilings are made low on purpose. And that is so that you can't draw a katana inside. So you aren't able to kill people inside the house basically with your katana. So that's why the like ceilings are significantly lower. So let's see. Hina leads him out into the yard, and there's a little well at the edge of the yard. So they're sitting by the well, and she tells him a story of a woman named Okiku. She was beaten and thrown into a well, only to end up haunting the man that killed her. It's this whole thing where she was a maid for like someone who was super powerful. This random guy decided he wanted to marry her. She says no, so he steals a plate from the guy and frames her for the theft. And then he's like, I will keep you safe if you marry me. And then she still said no. And then that is when he ends up killing her. So she haunts him and like he just hears plates clinking together like as the haunting. Stu, let's see. What?
Just, I don't know. Him coming up with this not elaborate plan, but just like plan to frame her, and then I can save you, and she still's like, hell no, absolutely.
That would be me.
Yeah.
And then he kills her. He fucked around, and it was finding out via clinking plates.
Via plate ghost.
I'm sure he didn't blame himself. It was all someone else's fault.
I know.
Gotta get
Absolutely.
her the fine china.
Yeah, the fine china.
The fine Japan? I don't know.
Yes.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Sorry.
no, you're good. You're so good. Hina, Lee basically is like, do you want me to think that the house is haunted and that there's a corpse in this well? And she just kind of laughs and says like, of course not. I'm just telling you a murder story because the murderer was a samurai. So like, I'm just samurai ghosts. That's what I'm doing here. And so Lee thinks to himself that this isn't a like image that he can really conjure of a samurai because he thinks of samurai as being like super honorable and like valuing honor above all else. And he thinks this to himself, but then Hina says that not all samurai were heroes. And he's just like, did I say that out loud? And she basically says the samurai were warriors and then they were bullies and then all at once they were gone. As Hina steps back into the house, though, Lee notices that the second the paper door closes, like, she's gone. Like, there's no shadow or anything like that of her even being, like, behind the paper door. Fast forward a bit, I cut out a significant amount of stuff, but I am going to tell you guys that Lee is heavily addicted to Ativan, and in between dosing himself with Ativan, he takes Benadryl. Because he's someone who just says the first thing that comes to his mind, and that makes people really uncomfortable. So one time his grandma drugged him with Ativan, and it was the first time that his mind felt quiet. So he was a small child when this happened, and so he's been pilfering Ativan and then, you know, using the Benadryl and stuff. Because when he's a little eepy, he doesn't have to say the creepies. So
Is Ativan a sleep medication?
I guess I don't know. I think it's probably like maybe a depressant of some sort. I'm not certain. I didn't deep dive into
Hey, Siri.
Ativan.
What's Ativan?
As everybody's
She's not listening to me.
I was gonna say you just activated everyone's Siri.
yeah, everyone who's listening.
Oh, sorry, Siri. She didn't listen to me, so we're never going to know because I'm too tired for that.
Nick is Googling it, so we'll find out in a minute.
Benzodiazepine that calms the central nervous system to treat anxiety disorders, insomnia, and active seizures.
There you go.
Okay.
So, we end up finding out that Lee has been having sleep paralysis every night since the murder. He knew James must have done something awful. So basically, he's woken up in the night. Presently, he is having sleep paralysis. He is thinking maybe he's in hell right now. And then he thinks to himself, like, well, James must have done something really, really awful for me to kill him. And then there's also this sort of moment where Lee's like, my anger only hurts me. I never direct my anger out on anybody else. Like, it's only me that I'm like hurting. So whatever James did, it must have been so extreme that it caused me to like act out. But also we'll get like interspliced flashbacks of him and his roommate. One day his roommate brings him coffee home from like after class, and Lee's like, why'd you bring me coffee? And he's like, well, I was stopping for coffee and I knew you were home, so I figured I'd just grab you one. Or like he'll order a pizza and ask Lee if he wants any, and Lee is just like shooketh that someone is not only interacting with him but like being genuinely kind to him. So by all accounts, James is like a really, really good roommate, and he's like not a clue in the world why the fuck I killed this man. I have not an idea, but he must have really done something out of pocket.
My theory is he didn't actually kill him, but he is getting glimpses of things.
Maybe.
I just wanted to say real quick, just looking through Ativan, it can cause severe drowsiness, which obviously is the reason for him taking it. Addiction, which he is addicted for multiple reasons, like the pill, and also just, hey, my brain shuts up. And fatal respiratory depression.
Yeah.
So if he's got any breathing problems or...
And I do think that there is a point where he's like concerned about having hallucinations, either from Ativan withdrawal or having too much. Because he is going to see something spooky, and then he's going to throw out all of his Ativan and all of his Benadryl because he's like, I need to be like sharp and awake and aware because stuff is just hella weird right now. Anyways, so Lee knows that there's a million reasons that he would have missing memories, but he still cannot think of a single reason why he would even hurt James in the first place. As Lee's like laying in bed, kind of having all of these thoughts, he notices the shadow of a woman shifting beyond his window. So he gets up and he looks outside, and there's a woman standing in bright moonlight in his yard.
But
and
not Tina, because she doesn't cast a shadow.
Right. And she turns and she looks at him and makes like eye contact with him through the window. Picture it. Kagoshima, 1877. Sen presses...
good year.
Yes. Sen presses her blade to her brother's throat. Her next move was meant to be her killing him. Her brother shouts that she's won and to let him up, but she only leans in closer, her blade pricking his throat, and she tells him that if he wants up, he needs to force her to retreat. Sen couldn't see her father, but she knew he was somewhere because he was always somewhere watching. And he was always just kind of waiting for her to make a mistake. And basically, she knows that her father would not be happy if she let her brother up without him actually earning the ability to get up himself. Her brother starts crying and begging her to stop at this point. And she thinks to herself that her father never let her raise her hands in defeat. He always kept swinging his blade at her, even as she was screaming and trying to escape. That is why Sen is a warrior and her brothers are not. It wasn't Sen's job to make him a warrior, so she sheathes her blade. As her brother runs into the house, she called after him, saying that she hopes he picks flowers for his funeral. And we honestly love our boss babe Sen. She's like so fucking out of pocket. Anyways,
I mean, she seems like a bully right now, so I'm assuming there's going to be like something endearing.
Hurt people, right? So,
doesn't make them.
Don't make it right, but you can understand the perspective.
Right.
Boss bitch.
We can also, like, just for context, she is like 16. Like, she is a teenager basically. So, there's also the like brain's not fully formed, right? So, the impulse control is not built in yet. So as her brother's like going inside, he turns around and makes a comment that all samurai are dead. And Sen at this point really hopes her father isn't nearby to hear him. She tells him that they're all still here and therefore all the samurai are not in fact dead. I do explain this lore now. So her father was the only survivor of the samurai revolt. Her father wasn't supposed to return home at all. When the word of the revolt's failure had reached Sen and her mother, they ended up going to a safe house for hiding, and they had a funeral for her father. The father Sen had always known would have rather died on his own blade than return home with the shame of failure, but then he came home anyways. So she very much will have these like thoughts of like, that's not my dad. Like, that's not my dad. My dad wouldn't have come home. Like, that is some creature wearing his skin. That is not my father. Um, so as Sen's kind of like having these moments, she hears someone from behind say, "My lady." She turns around and
Tips his fedora.
right. She turns around and it's her maid Yuna. She tells Sen that her mother needs help with mosquito nets, and Sen heads inside to her room. We learn that Sen's room is on the most exposed side of the house. This would be the side that soldiers would be attacking from, and there's a small window for her to look out of. Even if she's in bed, she's able to see out into the yard. So the one thing that she didn't understand about her room, like, she understands why her room is where it is because she is meant to be the first line of defense when the soldiers like come for her family basically. So she's like on the most exposed side of the house. That's where they'll enter first. So they obviously, Lee and Sen have the same bedroom. It's like on the end of the house, and there's like a sliding door to get out onto the porch. So there's like a door obviously into the house and then a door out of the house as well. And then the Sen knows like
Is it the same house?
it is the same house, yeah.
Okay.
So let's see. Okay, so Sen understands why this is her room. And the only thing she doesn't understand about her room is the door to nowhere, basically. She's not sure who lived in the house before, but she's not sure why they would make a door that just opens to a wall. Sen wakes in the night and she hears her parents whispering in the hall. Her mother is concerned that Sen's baby brother isn't growing as he should. She tells her father, like, mom tells dad, we need more food. Sen remembers the last time they didn't have enough food. And now you might be thinking to yourself, they don't have money for food, and yet they still have a servant. Is that weird? Yes, it is in fact weird. They kind of give us this line of, her father is so proud that he won't have the shame of not having servants anymore. So like at sacrifice to his literal family because they cannot afford food, he would rather have another mouth to feed and another person that he has to pay rather than not have anybody at all.
Status is more important.
Yeah, so
fuck those people.
Yes. So Sen kind of overhears this. She has heard them bicker about this numerous times. So she gets up and she decides she's going to prowl the perimeter of the yard, check for any threats. As Sen is rounding back around to her bedroom, she notices a man's face peering at her out the window. Let's see. Okay, yeah, and then as a disclaimer here, when I went through and cut a bunch of shit, I left a lot of Sen's story, and I took out a ton of Lee's story, so if I say something about Lee's story that doesn't make sense, ask me, because I definitely have context that I probably just mistakenly removed, although this morning I was going back in and trying to, like, add stuff back in. So anyways, we're back over with our guy Lee here. Lee thinks of the day his mother vanished. They were on vacation in Cambodia. His father had gone on a solo scuba trip. He would not return until very late that night. His mother had encouraged Lee to take a nap. He dreamt of a faceless man folding his mother up and putting her in a suitcase before wheeling her away. When he woke, he was alone in the house and the door to the the hotel. But the door was also open, like out onto the porch. and he kept waiting for his mom to come back through the door, but she never returned. When the police came, they found the tracks for the suitcase leading into the woods. Lee thought back on his dream of someone folding his mom up, and he wonders how he stayed asleep while his mother was attacked and, like, taken. And he also wonders why whoever came for his mother didn't do something to him too, because he was very clearly just, like, sleeping on the other side of the door. The door was wide open. So he's like, stuff just doesn't make sense. Inside the house. Okay, so yeah, we're back in present day here with Lee. Inside the house, Lee feels like tiny cracks are beginning to crawl their way across his world, starting with the strange woman he saw in the yard. She wore white robes with a sword that gleamed in the moonlight, and her eyes were just as sharp as her blade. When Lee opened the door, she was gone, but he knew that she had looked at him too, thinking that she recoiled at the sight of him just like everyone else. In the morning, Lee heads out into the yard and he determines, like, he's basically investigating if the woman could have seen him from inside. So he goes outside and he's like, yep, she definitely would have been able to see me from here. But then he notices, again, strange things about the house. The house is significantly smaller from the outside than it is from the inside. Like, looking at his room from the outside of the house, it's really small, but inside he has, like, a lot of space. So
Got it.
legitimately, and the only reasonable explanation for this is the house is a TARDIS. But he, like, literally gets a tape measure and spends the afternoon measuring the house repeatedly, and, like, is, like, 6 feet bigger from the inside than it is from the outside.
So I was just taking a screenshot of this because, in case any of it comes back, I know he throws out the Ativan at some point, but side effects, it's in, like, the it has happened to some people, so it may or may not be a side effect of the medication itself or just the user. Aggressive, angry, agitation, attack, assault, or force. But just to your point about the, like, tardiness, confusion about identity, place, and time.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which kind of
I
tracks.
guess he did kill his roommate.
Yeah.
Or
Maybe.
at the very least, his mom. If I had to choose one or the other.
Okay, I will say Lee was, like, a small child when his mom went missing.
I didn't know the time frame. Like,
No, and that's fair.
I would
That's why
assume-
I'm like, clarification. He was a little kid when that happened.
Children killed too.
They sure do. All right. So, anyways, fast forward. Lee hears a strange cry coming from the well. Also, this book is so fun. And I know I say this all the time, but maybe I just read really good books, guys. This book is so cinematic that, like, just, you can picture it in, like, a horror movie feel. So, like, he hears a creaking noise that sounds like a door, and then he's like, wait, there are no hinges in this house because all of the doors slide open. So he's, like, follows the sound and he goes out to the well and he peers down in the well and he sees, like, a flash of fur fly down past the well, and then he's, like, trying to draw up the bucket, and then as he's reaching for the bucket, he's, like, fully in the well trying to reach for the bucket and grab it and pull it up, and then Hina pops up behind him and she's like, don't drink the water from there, but also it's rusty, like, get out of there, what are you doing? So just, like, kind of the tension building of, like, what's in the well, what's happening here, and then, like, just Hina being like, what are you doing? Get out of that.
Whatever sound effect or music, like, coming to a crescendo.
Yes.
Cutting off, and then Hina being like, what you doing?
Yeah, him, like, slipping and almost falling into the well, but then, like, grabbing the side just in time. Yeah, it's really good, and I would absolutely love to see this as a movie. So anyways, Hina's behind him, tells him, like, don't cut yourself, also don't drink that, what the hell. He decides to ask her if she's noticed anything strange about the house, because he knows if he asks Hina this, that she won't lie to him, but also that she won't think that he's weird for even asking the question in the first place. And she replies that it's a samurai house, so of course it's strange. She then goes on to say that the house is loud, that it feels like it has a heartbeat, and he very quickly is like, yeah, it does, it feels like the house is breathing. And then Hina says, well, there's a river that was diverted very deep below this house. Some say that it leads out into the ocean, so maybe you are hearing the heartbeat of the ocean. And he basically, let's see, he asks Hina if she knows anything about the previous owners of the house, and she very quietly answers just the word like nothing. Like, what do you know about the previous owners? And she kind of whispers nothing to herself. And he is like, that feels really weird because Hina's like just this really bubbly, like wonderful, warm-hearted person. And it is so unlike her to like answer in that manner that he's wondering if she's lying. And
Can
we
Joey tell?
correct. And he's thinks to himself, I don't know if Hina has never lied to me or if she's just able to hide it from me. So that's kind of where he's like thinking like, like, is she just a really good liar? Is she just the one person who is able to lie to me? Um, so let's see. All right. So Lee presses asking again if she how she knew it was a samurai house, and she responds saying that she only knows what the walls are willing to tell her. In other words, she knows that based on the location of the house, the layout of the house, that was a samurai house. There's also a point where they're walking and there's like slash marks in some of the like upper beams. So it does look like someone did try to draw a katana at some point and like swing it on someone. So let's see. He asks if women could ever be samurai, and Hina like is so taken aback by this question that she like physically like leans back when he asks her like, "Hey, can women be samurai?" Because our guy saw a female samurai out in the yard the night before. So and almost imperceptibly she flinches as well, and her face kind of darkens at this, which is again very unlike Hina. So instead of answering the question directly, Hina just very gently says, "You're safe here." And it's like that is not even a little bit answering the question. That like feels so out of context and weird.
That just raises more questions. I thought you were supposed to be unflappable. Why am I flapping you?
Right, right. So Lee thinks to himself that it feels like this house is on the edge of a cliff and that there's an abyss of darkness and the house is just kind of teetering between beautiful lie and raw truth. He wants to fall to the bottom of this abyss that he's like feels like the house is on, but he thinks that Hina doesn't need to fall too. So he looks at her and he tells her to go home. And she just smiles at him and says, "Don't be silly. No one leaves this house." So we're back over to Sen. Sen woke before the sun. She goes outside with her paper and brushes. Her father finds art to be an acceptable form of meditation. So every morning she sits outside and she paints her dreams, hoping that if she gets them out on paper, then they aren't going to torment her in the night. Ever since coming to this house, her dreams have changed, though. Most nights she dreams of drowning in a black sea. Some nights the sea would part and she would see a pale woman sat on the white sand, sadness weighing down her features. But as Sen approaches this woman, the ocean always sweeps her away. So Sen finishes her meditation in stillness, and she's sensing the land around her. And for the first morning since escaping to this house in the forest is fully silent. She doesn't hear any insects. There's no birds. She can't hear creatures scurrying about. Just everything is still and fully silent. And she thinks to herself, like, maybe the forest knows something that I don't. Maybe there's something more terrifying in the forest than the soldiers that my father has been waiting for. She basically needs to find out what's going on. So she heads off into the forest. She can't feel the pulse of the earth beneath her, only the soft soil. She stands perfectly still in the forest among the trees, but the forest won't speak to her. She can only hear her own breathing and the wind as it's whistling through the trees. A blade is then pressed to Sen's throat. It cuts a thin line just above her collarbone. Her father tells her that she would be dead if he wasn't in such a kind mood today. And basically, like, your inattention, like, I should kill you for your inattention, but, like, I'm in a good mood, so... yeah, her dad's a really good guy.
I'm picturing how in America people used to have families like just have all the kids you can because some of them are gonna die and you want as many to like live and prosper as possible. But that was like from the elements, disease, nature. In Japan, have all the kids you have because the dad's gonna like just kill a bunch of them, try to create the strongest soldier. And I'm sure that's true for more places than just Japan, just in this incident.
Well, yeah, also just the family that she's like growing up in, right? Like, but yeah. Anyways, so she agrees that she does in fact deserve to be killed. Basically, poor Sen.
Just give me my samurai sword and I'll go commit Harajuku.
Right. And she thinks to herself that maybe this is the day that her dad will finally kill her. That night at dinner, Sen doesn't have a bowl set out for her. Her dad tells her to go hunt for her dinner, but he knows as well as Sen knows that there's no animals for her to hunt. So basically, just go wander the woods until you decide to come home and go to bed and don't eat, basically. Um, so Sen is a sword rather than a soul, so she obeys. She is used to hunger, remembering a time as a child when the sugarcane had gone black, their pigs had died, and the surface of the river was covered in dead fish. Back then, Sen had a sister, Kura. She was born 1 year before her younger brother. Sen used to cut sugarcane for Kura, so she did this so often that Kura referred to Sen as Sado, which apparently is sugar in Japanese, and I probably pronounced it wrong. Sorry, guys. Like, I'm not all up into the culture. But anyways, so during this famine, Sen's father had found a way to save them. One night at dinner, Kura did not receive a bowl. When Sen tried to share her portion with Kura, her father smacked her and told her that she needs to eat what she's been given. It was Sen's duty to dig Kura's grave. The land was barren. It was so barren that she couldn't even put flowers on her sister's grave. We're back to present day. Sen is stomping through the forest. She's following the path of the river and she's wondering how far she can walk through the forest. So she's basically just like, I'm just going to walk forever through this forest at this point. Like, I'm just going to go as far as I possibly can. She realizes she's never been this far into the forest before. And she feared that she might be seen by someone living in the nearby village. It was dark. Let's see.
What was Sen's sister's name?
Kura. But anyways, so it's dark, so she's like, maybe this will be fine, for me to be out this far, so she just keeps walking deeper and deeper. The trees begin to thin at a point, and she sees that she's approaching a clearing. As she enters the clearing, a garden comes into view, and then the house behind the sword ferns. She glances behind her and sees her fresh path coming out of the woods, but then right next to her is her path going into the woods, and she's like, I don't know how the fuck I just walked in a giant circle. But she gets ready for bed anyways. She lays down, but when she lays down, she sees a shadow move across the paper door to her closet to nowhere. Sen can see the silhouette, has curly hair, so she knows it's the man she saw in her room the night before. She grabs her katana, thinking to herself that samurai only strike once. Back over to our guy Lee. He's focused on the samurai, estimating that she could probably decapitate Lee if she swung her blade from her knees rather than standing. So he too sees the shadow on the other side of the closet. The shadow is very still, but he knows that it's breathing. Lee puts his hand up to the paper door, expecting to feel cool cement under his hand, but instead he feels that the paper has no resistance to it at all. He then hears a sharp breath from the other side of the door, and then he feels a warm hand press against his. Lee presses his ear to the paper, only hearing slow breaths and the creaking of floorboards. Lee whispers hello in Japanese. The breathing stops. Lee then hears scraping, and he's wondering, like, what is that noise? He then visualizes the woman in the yard with her white robes, her eyes lightless as the sea, her hair blowing across her face, and the katana at her side with its woven black handle. It now occurs to Lee what he's hearing, and she is in fact drawing her sword, so he very quickly yeets himself away from the door just as her katana comes through and slices open his arm. He then hears the scraping of something across the floor. The light from the door has now been blocked out. He puts his hand up to the paper and he can feel wood. So she basically like stabbed through the paper. When she didn't hit him, she just shoves her like dresser in front of the door so he can't come into her room. Lee knew this was real. He knew he would see the ghost again. So he pulls out his markers and he writes on the door in Japanese, "How did you die?" All he could do now was sit on his futon and wait. He drifts off to sleep, thinking of the woman's eyes, which could devour the whole universe. When he wakes up, he finds the answer to his question written on the door.
So, just to confirm, Sen is from the past and dead?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Sen is from 1877, and then this is 2025, 2026. October. Not that
Okay.
it necessarily matters, but so Sen knows that a samurai only strike once. She knows that her father would kill her if he knew that she had missed her target last night. We now get a flashback. Sen thinks back to a time when she was 7. Her father put her into a box. He took her outside with a wooden crate that was just big enough for her to cram herself into. He set the crate down and told Sen to make herself small. She thought that this was a game, so she climbed inside and hugged her legs as tightly to her chest as she could. She pressed her face into her knees and held her breath. She wanted to make her father happy. Once she was inside the crate, he nailed it shut. He placed it into a hole and shoveled dirt onto the crate until Sen could no longer see the sky.
Why is he psycho?
I don't know. Her father told her that she will know what it's like to be dead, and then he leaves. Sen felt like she had spent years inside the box. Her stomach is starting to cramp with hunger. Her mouth is fully dry. She then begins to understand that her father's not coming back for her. He didn't need her just as he didn't need Kura. Sen felt as if she were starting to melt into the ground, and then she hears a tiny voice whisper Sato to her. A small white hand comes out of the darkness, and it reaches for Sen. She couldn't see Kura's face, but she could feel Kura's hair across her legs. Sen told Kura that she had been left to die, and Kura asks Sen, why? Sen responds, because I'm worthless and weak. Kura tells Sen that because she's strong. Their father wants Sen to see what Sen will become if she falls into her weaknesses. Kura's rotting face then emerges from the darkness. Her skin is fully gray and taut, teeth hanging loosely out of her gums. Her eyes are cloudy as if she's in a dense fog. When her father eventually returns for her, Sen thanks him. Thanked him for showing her, thank you for showing me this. He asks what he showed her, and she said that life and death are one and the same. I exist because I'm strong, and if I give in to fear, I will no longer exist. He nods, tells her to clean her face because they have work to do. So then he very immediately, gets her back to, training and, chopping wood and shit, even though she's just been, left in a box underground for
just back to work, no water.
Yeah, right. So present day Sen, in the morning, Sen slides the dresser away from the closet. She sees the message and she frowns. Why was the ghost in her house asking her how she had died? She looked...
Are we getting timey-wimey?
Perhaps.
I love this.
So she looks at her scarred hands and she basically sees hands that have been broken and pieced back together many times, but they're warm and they're alive. Because the pain that she's feeling means that there's light left within her. Sen responds to the message, I will tell you tonight. We are now going to get a little lore here. Okay, so the legend of Urashime Taro. There once was a fisherman who found a turtle on the shore. The turtle was surrounded by children. The children were throwing rocks at the turtle. The fisherman chases the kids off. It helps the turtle back to the sea, but before the turtle swims away, it looks at the fisherman with gratitude in its eyes. All right, back over to our girl Sen. She's overhearing a whispered conversation. Basically, the former samurai who brought her family to the safe house has been captured and killed. So her mom is like, do you think that he would give up our secrets? And he's like, he was a really loyal friend, but he was also incredibly afraid to die. So chances are good that he did tell whoever did this to him, where we are. She basically asks if they should leave, but he tells her no. This was the only safe place for them, and anywhere that they went, basically anyone they came into contact with would report them. Her mother asks if they were just meant to sit and wait for death, and her father responds by telling her that they are already dead. Sen had heard this conversation 100 times before. She isn't sure why her mother keeps worrying over decisions that aren't hers to make because her father's word is law. In bed, Sen is thinking to herself that it feels as if they were fated to end here, and that the age of samurai would go along with her. But Sen did not believe in fate. She had worked too hard to die among the sword ferns. No spirit or soldier would be her end, which is true. No spirit or soldier is her end. But as the night grows darker, the shadow with curly hair appears. So Sen, sword in hand, opens the door. Sen made the mistake of looking the ghost in the eyes. His eyes were the color of the forest, gold of the sunrise, and bright green of the sword ferns beyond. There was a shade of something worse. She thinks to herself that he doesn't look like a monster ready to devour her. He looks like someone that had already been devoured. She wonders if all foreigners look this haunted, the ghosts of what her country could have been but never became. She looks behind him, and instead of a closet, she sees that he's in a room of his own. She looks and she realizes that it's a mirror image of her room. So she thinks about slicing his head off, thinking that she would cut him down 1,000 times if she had to. She tightens her grip on the sword, but then the ghost bows and he speaks to her in her language. She couldn't bring herself to draw her sword. She wondered if maybe she would be able to banish him with her words rather than her sword. So finally she says, "You speak my language, spirit." He confirms, but he tells her that he isn't a spirit. He then asks her what year it is, and she feels like he's mocking her because she's like, why would a ghost want to know what year it is? That doesn't make any sense. So she basically says that she will cut his soul into pieces because it's her last resort. His face was blank. He showed no emotion.
Was it intentional?
Yes.
Okay.
He come on.
I
Come on.
It took me a second because like it seemed like that could have been like an actual line.
No, it wasn't.
I will cut your soul into pieces if it's my last resort.
Yeah, no, basically,
Bang.
like, I will destroy you 1,000
Bang.
times if I need to. But she won't answer his question on what year it is. His face is blank and shows no emotion. He then smiles at her and tells her that it's likely between 1868 and 1878. He then goes citing like the numerous reasons why he has deduced that this is likely the time period that she's in. He then asks her again what year it is. She then confirms it's 1877, and he nods and tells her that that's unfortunate for her because if it's 1877, then she is in fact the spirit. Sen can't detect a lie on his face, and Sen always knows when people are lying. She tells him that she's not a ghost. She knew this because she has a pulse. There's hunger churning in her stomach. He blinks and he tells her that it's October 20th, 2026. She does not appear to be over 140 years old. She tells him that she cannot be destroyed that easily. He frowns, and is kind of like taken aback because he's like, I don't want to destroy you. Like, what do you think I'm here to destroy you? Like, that's weird. He tells her that he wants to work with her. She tells him that she won't make deals with a demon, and that's what he wait. And if that's what he wanted to say, like if you came here to make a deal, then you shouldn't show your face again because I'm not putting up with this shit. And basically the next time you come to the door, I'll be the last thing you see. Basically is what she says because she's a boss babe. She then slides the door closed. As she's sliding the door closed though, he shoves his hand through the door to hold it open, and he leans forward over the threshold and he asks if he can prove it to her. He then pulls out a thin black object with glass on its surface. He asks if he can tell her one thing about her future, telling her that he will leave her be if she just listens to one thing. Like, can I tell you something that's going to happen really soon in your time? And then I will never bother you again. If it happens, you can come back and talk to me then. If you don't want to, that's fine. Just like, please let me tell you one thing just to prove to you that like I'm from the future. So he asks her if it's October 20th for her. He glances up at her face. She doesn't say anything, and then he nods as if he like understands what she's thinking. He tells her that tomorrow there will be a fire and it will kill the mayor. Telling her that when she smells smoke to think of him before bowing to her again and closing the door. She kind of laughs at this because it's been raining all day, so how would there possibly be a fire tomorrow? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So she's like, silly ghost. And she decides that she is going to do her own test, though, even though she doesn't think that he's being truthful. But she takes one of her old sword guards and hides it under a floorboard in her bedroom. So, we get another flashback of her father torturing her. When she was 7, he would force her to kill hares in the forest. If she refused to cut them down, he would cut them in half and make her touch their insides as they slowly died. A sensei, sensei, what is wrong with me? A sensei from the samurai academy comes and finds them in the woods. Her father had pulled her out of the academy because the sensei would not allow Sen to fight any of the other children with a real sword because she is so young that they are only training with wooden swords, and her dad is like, my girl ain't no pussy, like give her a fucking real blade. So he's like, okay, well, I'm pulling you from the shit.
It's like, I'm glad that your daughter can fight with a sword, but the people she's against probably can't yet. Like,
right. Well,
oh my god.
It's about you don't even know the half of it
fucking
yet.
feral skinwalker piece motherfucker.
Right. So Sensei urges her father to allow Sen to return to sparring with the other kids. Basically because they're standing outside training, the ground is like soaked in blood and there's just hairs everywhere. And he's like, how about instead of like hunting hares to extinction, you just let her come back to school? Like, you don't need to be out here doing this shit. Let's see. So her father basically replies that the academy only teaches children to dance, not to fight. Sensei suggests that maybe Sen could spar with a boy who had recently transferred to this academy. The boy had very recently accidentally cut off another child's fingers. Her father agrees, telling Sensei to bring the child and see if he's a worthy opponent for his daughter. Sensei looks at Sen and smiles because he thinks that he has saved her, but she knows that he has in fact just doomed her. When the sensei brings the boy back on over, the boy is smiling. To him, this is about to be a game. The boy also was in school with Sen, and he would like leer at her and stuff like that. So she already knows that this kid is like a fucking creep anyways. And he, accidentally cuts people's fingers off. So
and collects them and puts them on a string and wears them.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So to him, this is a game, but she knows that this is basically going to be her life. At this point, like that's what's on the line, is that if she loses to him, she will die. So the children fought with wooden swords first. Her father wanted to see how well the kid fought. The boy smashes his sword into her, nearly knocking her into the mud. She dodges his next blow, striking him in the knees before taking an elbow to the face. She falls. The boy stands over her, looking over to her father and Sensei for approval. Her father hands the boy his blade and tells him to finish it. The boy takes the sword, but he looks over at Sensei in confusion. Sensei very quickly tells Sen's father, this isn't why I brought this kid out here. But her father says that he'll be doing me a favor. She brings shame to our family anyways. Sensei reaches for his own blade, but her father tells him that if he draws his blade on his land, he won't be leaving this forest alive. Sensei hesitates, and Sen knows that it's over at this point because samurai either acted all at once or they did not act at all. She was her father's property, and if he wanted her to die, that was his right. The boy stands over Sen, frozen. Her father asked if he wasn't a real samurai either, before telling the boy that if he is a real samurai, then he would take out the trash, basically. And he's basically like, if you kill my daughter, I'll start training you. So the boy turned back to Sen and adjusted his grip on the katana. She knew at this point that she's been replaced. She thinks to herself that if she tries to get up and run, he'll likely strike down too quickly and miss the mark, and she'll die slowly, screaming in pain, bringing even more shame to her father. Sen sees her father looking into the distance, and she wills him to look back at her, thinking that if she's nothing to him, then why is he afraid to watch her die? The boy strikes down, but Sen is able to duck under the blade. She then grabs the boy by the wrist. He wasn't expecting this. He tries to jerk his arm back, but he becomes unbalanced. Sen grabs the katana and pulls it out of his hand. This is her father's blade, not his. So Sen tries to take a step back with the blade, but her feet slip because literally, again, she is standing in blood and gore. So she pulls the sword back and falls onto her back, and as the boy is also slipping and sliding. He kind of tries to reach for her to like balance himself, but instead he falls on top of her blade, slicing his stomach open. Blood is pouring from his mouth onto her face. She shoves him off of her and she stands. She drops the blade, trembling. Killing a daughter with her father's permission was one thing, but she couldn't just kill somebody's son. Her father stands beside her now. What?
What kind of logic is that? I get that there's none, but like,
It's like, I can kill my own family, but I can't kill somebody else's family. I
Well,
get it, though.
I'm
different.
fine with Don, but
No.
if I were to kill someone,
Because your son is your son, your daughter's your property. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, if I'm telling you to hurt my property, that's my prerogative. I can do that if I want to. But like, that's a person.
no, that's what I mean. There's no logic in that.
I mean, that's why you're one of the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Her father is standing by her now. He picks up his blade from the mud and he cuts the boy's throat in one swift movement. Her father looks at Sensei and says, "This boy attacked my daughter with my sword. I defended her as is my right when a thief tries to take my property from me." Her father looks her in the eye and she wonders if he would have actually let her die, but she knows that she doesn't want to know the answer to that. Her father tells her that samurai kill in one strike and that she needs to do better next time. Then he heads back into the forest, gesturing her for her to follow. She knew that for the first time in her life, she had actually pleased her father. She vows to herself that this would be the last time that she ever brought shame to him. Lee. Lee knew his father was keeping a secret. He knew this when his father lied. He began to realize that his father was lying more often than not, even about the tiniest things. His father began to take out the trash multiple times a day. The bag's always almost empty, but he thought perhaps maybe his dad was smelling something that he couldn't smell. His father's eyes became strangely flat since Lee's second day in Japan. His green eyes had become almost static. His pupils no longer dilated or contracted. One morning, his eyes passed over Lee, and he had no recognition at all, almost as if Lee wasn't even there. We get a flashback to when Lee was 9. He wakes up one night laying flat on his back in the back of the car, or in the back of a car he had never been in before, and the car smelled like chemicals. His mother was driving, and Lee was encased in the back seat among a bunch of duffel bags. He asks where they're going, but his mom says that he's not allowed to ask. It's against the rules of the game that they're playing. She tells him that they are playing the Egyptian burial game. Lee is a pharaoh, and they need to get him to the pyramid. He needs to be very still and very quiet until they get there. Lee wonders why his father isn't playing the game with him. The car is picking up speed, and then Lee can start to hear sirens in the background. Let's see. The car eventually slows down and stops, and then Lee can see red and blue lights flashing in the sky. He then hears his father ask where he is. His mother responds that he's fine, and she gets out of the car and slams the door. The back door then opens. Lee is washed in bright light, and his father picks him up and asks Lee if he's okay. He saw his mother talking to the police. She didn't look worried, so Lee wasn't going to worry either. His father stopped looking at his mother after that, though. Not even when he was speaking to her would he look at her. Lee didn't understand why, but his father eventually stopped looking at him too. Sen. Sen hears footsteps crunching towards her. The trees begin to shake, and her father emerged covered in red. She asks if he's hurt, but he claims that he had injured a fox, but it got away from him. Sen knew that there aren't any foxes in the forest, and she hadn't heard any animals at all for days, so she knows that he's lying.
Don't samurais kill in one strike and you let a fox go? You piece of shit?
Right. It's because he's lying.
I know, but still, piece of shit.
Yeah. So they walk in silence back to the house for dinner. Sen's father sits down and begins to eat. He's still covered in blood, and without giving thanks for the meal. Her mother frowns at him and asks if he brought any meat home. Sen knows that this is a bad fucking move, and her mother continues to kind of like poke at him. Basically, like, you don't have a job, you spend all day in the forest, and you can't even bring us food. Silence falls over the table, and her father sets down his spoon, and he turns to look at his wife. He basically starts going off, like, who pays for the servants, who protects this house, men want to hurt you, and men want you and your children dead. I'm keeping you guys safe. I made you the wife of a samurai when you came from nothing. It is at this point that her mom fully understands how badly she fucked up. Her father stands. There is this whole imagery of, like, he's standing and, like, his shadow is just, like, growing until, like, the entire ceiling is, like, covered in darkness. He then asks why she doesn't provide food for the family, since she clearly thinks that she's the head of the household. Her mother is now fully sobbing and mumbling apologies. She's holding the baby in her arms, like, hugging him tightly to her. Sen's father asks Sen to bring him his dagger. She hurries off to retrieve it because he's pissed and she's not about to make it worse. When Sen gets back into the room, he's now holding the baby, and he tells Sen to help her mother prepare meat for their meal. Her mother then places her palm on the table, five-finger fillet style. He tells Sen that she is going to show her brothers how clean her strikes are. And Sen, with all of her daddy issues, warms at the compliment, like, ooh, he thinks my strikes are clean. He then says that Sen is going to obey because she's the only one in the house who understands how to be a samurai. And then he looks at her and go, isn't that right, Sen? So she unsheathes the blade. She asks her father how many fingers. Her dad smiles and asks if she thinks that 3, 1 for each child, would be sufficient. She then looks at his face, and she wants to memorize his smile because she's not sure that she's ever going to see him smile again. Sen then said that it should only be 2 fingers, otherwise her mother would put more work on the servants and have a hard time holding the baby. So he nods and says, okay, great, show your brothers how to strike like a samurai. Sen smiles, and approaches the table, telling her mom not to move unless she wants to lose more than 2 fingers. After dinner, also, as she chops down, basically, like, blood goes spraying, like, significantly farther than she anticipated, so there is a, like, streak right by the door, so that is the blood stain that, Lee sees in his time. So after dinner, Sen's sitting out on the porch, she's polishing the dagger for her dad. She thinks that the blood flew so much further than she thought it would. Her mother had taken her brothers and hidden in the spare room, but Sen thinks that there's no need for them to hide. She wanted to scream at them, asking if they don't understand that she had saved them. She did this for them because only she can be what her father needs. And, like, honestly, had she defied him, it would have made it worse. So, like, she's not wrong. She did diffuse the situation in the only possible way for her to
baby
have done
girl's
that.
abused to hell and back.
Yep.
Like, she's like doesn't know what she's doing, on top of her thinking this is only there's so many layers.
Right.
I'm gonna read this.
Yeah, it's very gory, but I don't think that it would be. There's no, like, I know the stuff that really triggers you, and it doesn't have any of that in it. But anyways, so she's also been the one that's taken the, like, bulk of the abuse, so she was kind of very much having a moment of, like, I'm the only one that he's not mad at right now. So
What, he doesn't want to bury me in a box now?
right, exactly. So
Did
Sen's
they eat the fingers?
yeah. So Sen's waiting on the porch for her father to come back. He's gone back out into the woods again.
How many fucking bunnies did they kill?
Right.
I'm going home.
I mean, this was definitely a different time, to
I
be
know,
fair.
I know. I'm just saying.
Right. Put them in the freezer, damn.
Icebox, like, whatever. Bury them.
Right. So Sen's waiting on the porch for her dad to come back. Everyone in the house, even the other servants, are hiding from her, except Yuna. Let's see. So Yuna comes out onto the porch and she kneels down next to Sen with a bowl of water, and she begins very gently washing Sen's hands. And then she's, like, very intricately going in and making sure her nail beds are clean and her knuckles are clean. And Sen thinks to herself that even her own mother's never been this gentle with her. When she was done, Yuna tells Sen that she should come inside. Sen tells her that she's waiting for her father, and Yuna says to Sen, "Your father waits for no one." She rises to her feet. A dark shadow then begins to fall over Sen. And she tells Sen, Lord Iwasaki lives alone in a house with no doors. You're better off staying in this house rather than seeking out your father. Sen continues to wait anyways. Looking to the sky, she then sees a swirl of thick black smoke. Lee is wondering, basically why Sen. It would make sense for her to be haunted by James or his mother, but like why this random girl from the 1800s, right? It then occurs to Lee that he can't smell Hina cooking and it's around dinner time. Lee doesn't necessarily care that dinner's not being made, but he knows that his father won't eat if Hina doesn't cook something. So he sees that Hina's car is outside, but she's not in the house or in the garden. He then spots two thin lines wheeling out through the yard off to the shore, because they like live like right on the ocean. Lee thinks to himself that Hina's much smaller than her mother and she could probably fit into a carry-on. He follows the trail and he finds Hina sitting on the sand. She has a small wheeled cooler next to her. She's just kind of enjoying a ramune. She doesn't notice that he's approaching until he calls out to her. She looks at him, she's startled, but then she smiles and asks him to sit and join her. They have a really sweet moment. She tells Lee that she loves the ocean because it makes her feel like she's not alone. He asks if she feels alone now, but she tells him that she was alone for a really long time before he and his father. Lee tells her that he's glad that she's here. And then she smiles and tells him that she'll be here as long as he'll have her. He stands up saying, or she stands up saying that she's going to go make dinner, but she tells Lee to sit on the beach a little bit longer if he wants. She tells him that the sea is starting to retreat. It's had enough of her for today. Lee asks how far the tide goes out, and she tells him that it goes out too far and that he doesn't want to be stuck out there when it comes back. She tells him that it returns very quickly, and if he walks out too far, he could end up stuck out like miles out to sea and not be able to like swim back.
Could you repeat what you just said about like the sea was tired of her?
She stands up. She tells Lee that he should stay there. She tells Lee that the sea is retreating because it's had enough of her.
Okay.
What you cooking over there?
I've been looking up Japanese names, like their meanings and stuff, because obviously you can just glean a lot from those. And I was not finding a whole lot of information on Yuna, but there is a post from the Final Fantasy subreddit. Yuna's name does not mean moon or night, contrary to popular belief. But if it did, that would make sense. The tides retreating and stuff. There's just other things I had looked up. Sen means war or battle.
Also century. That's like kind of. It's supposed to mean.
It's like
1,000 years.
Yeah, 1,000.
Yeah, that's because there's a lot of stuff of like a woman whose name means longevity is like a dead teenage ghost type of thing. And then there's a lot of like turtle imagery. Like her sword guard that she hides has turtles on it, but then it says the way of the samurai is through death. And he's like, her name means longevity, the turtles mean longevity, but then this phrase is about death. And he's like, that seems so contradictory, type of thing. So that's
century only means 100.
Yeah, I know.
I wanted to point that out because otherwise we would get comments.
The Japanese word sen, I believe, is 1,000.
Yeah. My brain is like sen, century. That's where my brain went.
I can understand that. Hina means young girl or chick, like literally like chicks, man. Kura means storehouse, warehouse, barn, granary, elevator.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure where that's going to come into play yet, but...
Is it like Kura?
Kura, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about Yuna because...
Lady Yuna Leska.
A lot of it would mean like gentle, relaxed, but there was no like direct translation, and I saw that one post, and then the sea came up.
Okay.
You might have to look at their kanjis for like deeper context.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them were there's different kanji, different characters that like remember that my joke from not even a joke from the trauma manga Hai in like different kanji, different representations means multiple things, which is very interesting. Anyway.
I love Japan.
Okay.
Oh, hayao gozaimasu.
All right, so she tells him the sea returns very quickly. He doesn't want to be trapped out there. Hina tells him that he needs to go inside at low tide because it's dangerous out here. People have drowned. Your own mother may have drowned. He wants to tell Hina that his mother didn't drown. He knows this with certainty, no matter how many times the police argue that that is what happened. He tells us that the police, once the police came and they learned about his mother's history, they said that she must have walked off into the sea or tried to cuddle a panther or any other number of ways that was her fault.
To cuddle a panther?
That sounds like a euphemism.
Yeah. It's not. She has, obviously, we're maybe picking up that she has mental health issues, though.
I wondered just from the like flashback to her like trying to get away, because I think I'm confusing Lee's father with Sen's father. Like Lee's father just seems like like he's kind of inconsequential so far in your retelling, as opposed to Sen's father, who is coded bastard with bastard filling.
Yeah, I'm not gonna even say what I was gonna say because I don't want to give things away.
Okay.
So
I mean, I'm definitely seeing like there's signs of history repeating and whatnot.
Yes. Basically the police think that she did this to herself. She must have done something stupid and gotten herself killed. But Lee knows that his mother wasn't crazy, and even at her worst moments, she never would have left Lee behind.
You did say that Lee's mother was white?
I thought she was Japanese. I'm almost certain that she is Japanese. When I tried to Google it, I got the answer that he's mixed race, and I know for a fact his father's white. But he's having an argument with his dad because his dad's being a creep, basically like, ooh, Japanese women, they're so special. And then he's like, well, then why'd you marry mom? And so I genuinely don't know. I spent like an hour trying to find a definitive answer to this, and like, there's not one. I was under the impression that he was mixed race and that he was half Japanese,
He
but
could be Chinese.
maybe. I don't know.
I was just gonna make the joke that white women are the ones that will look at a panther and be like, ooh, kitty.
Yeah, I mean, that is so true.
You're fucking right.
Okay, but Lee knew that even in her worst moments, she wouldn't have left Lee behind. And again, so fair. Absolutely, she always tried to take him with her.
Go pet the kitty.
Right. So Sen, back over to Sen. Sen was angry that the spirit was so smug when he opened the door. So basically, like, he has a smug smile on his face because he knows, like, it's true, and she came back, and he is feeling very proud of himself that he was able to, like, basically talk her into, like, joining forces, so to speak.
What is this boom shakalaka that you made?
That's old. He's so old. Okay. So let's see. Right. So she is mad at how smug he looks, but she loves watching the light leave his eyes as she presses her blade to his throat. He tries to scramble back from her, but she uses the blade to force him.
Who is she killing?
Lee.
They're still on the opposite sides of their...
Yeah, so she opens the door, and Lee is giving her a smug smiles, so then she, like, basically puts her blade up to his throat, like, smile again, bitch, type of thing. She uses the blade to force him onto his back. She then steps into his side of the house. She asks what he did, basically saying that he caused the fire. Like, of course you can predict an event that you made happen, type of thing. And so he smiles, and she presses her blade even harder into his flesh, telling him that she's going to destroy him. But he tells her that he has something that she wants. Lee tells her he's good at finding truths, even the truths that no one wants to hear. He's very, very good at it, and maybe that makes him evil, but he can't be a spirit because he wants to work with her because he wants to find more spirits. He's like, if I'm a spirit, I genuinely want you to help me figure out how to contact other spirits, and I wouldn't need to do that if I were a spirit myself, right? So that is kind of his logic, which is so fair. So let's see. And basically once he explains this to her, her rage is like completely gone. Because she understands that his words are too raw to be lies. Also, either way, he isn't asking her for loyalty or love or vengeance or any of like the standard things that like ghosts or demons try to like get from you. He's just wanting her help and to help him gain knowledge. So she's like, he's not really asking me to trade for like anything that would be important for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just assume that he's a dude. So she sheathes her blade, fully walks into his side of the room. She's looking around. She then kneels by the futon and pries up a loose floorboard. She reaches inside and she pulls out her sword guard. It's fully tarnished, very deep green and brown. So it's been sitting down there for a century, basically. But she knows that it's hers, and she knew that this means that he's right. He is from the future. He is just some dude. So let's see. So she understands now that she is the ghost, but there's no such thing as a ghost that died peacefully after a long, fulfilling life. If she's haunting this house, it means that she died filled with rage, sorrow, and shame. She knew that, she knew what the army had done to her cousins. Some were even as young as her brothers. She knew that there was no way the government was going to let her family live. This means that worse than dying, she had failed her father. From behind her, Lee told her he was sorry. She sits up straight and smooths out her expression, and she tells him that she doesn't want his pity, and she puts the floorboard back into place. He tells her good because he doesn't want to exchange pity, he wants to exchange information. He explains that he will tell her whatever she wants to know about her future if she helps him. She asks for the date that the soldiers will come for her family, thinking that maybe she can convince her father to leave before then. He immediately tells her that he can do that, but he needs to know her name. Obviously, Sen knows not to give you like your name just out willy-nilly, so she tells him that her
Claire
name...
better.
Huh?
Claire better.
Yes. Sorry. So she tells him that her name is Sen of Shimazu. She can tell from his face that he knows that she's withholding information, but he tells her that his name is Lee Turner. And with that, he pulls the black box back out of his pocket. He is looking at it, and then he frowns, and he tells her that Sen of Shimazu isn't enough for him to tell her anything, but he's happy to take her to town hall so that she can look up her family records. Basically, like, it's too late now, but if you come back tomorrow, I will take you into town and you can like look
So
at
she
it.
can follow him? Like spiritually?
Supposedly.
Yeah. Well, because she's flesh and blood too.
Yeah, right now they're not spirits. Like it's an actual like timey-wimey.
Yeah.
They're actually like physically transparent with each other.
Like they're because it's so don't think of it as like a ghost portal. Think of it as like a time portal.
Is it the door that leads to nothing?
My original thought was
Okay.
the lake house.
I'm here. She doesn't have to go back. She could stay.
Jesse's locked in now, guys.
I'm locked the fuck in.
All right.
They could bang if they wanted.
Or could they? So he tells her, come back tomorrow, we'll go into town, we'll find out what happened to your family.
I mean, not if there's any relation between them.
Ew. Targaryen shit.
Yes. No. They then hear footsteps creaking in the hallway, and Lee's eyes go wide, and Sen thinks that if the monsters of the future are enough to frighten Lee, that whatever is in the hall must not be very good at all. A shadow moves behind the paper door, and her heart stops. She knows that shadow well, the way it swells along the ceiling, and he should not be on the side of the house. Sen draws her sword. Lee tells her not to as the door slides open. It's not her father, though. It's an older foreign man who is frozen at the sight of her. The whole house seems to have gone completely quiet, and Lee has gone very still, as if the world was prey just waiting for this man to strike. The man smiles and says hello to her. His smile was sharp. His eyes were flat and colorless. Lee quickly blocks her from view, so he like basically steps in between her and his dad. And he says something to his dad in English. She doesn't understand what he's saying. But whatever Lee said has caused this man to laugh and then look at Sen. Lee,
just like your old man.
Yeah. Lee whispers in Japanese, asking her to put her blade away, explaining that this is his father. She thinks to herself that that is not a good enough reason to put her blade away, but she does anyways. The man bows to Sen, and in very broken Japanese, he tells her that she doesn't need to sneak around. She's always welcome in the house to visit whenever she wants. His words made her skin prickle the same way her father did when he stalked her through the forest. And also Lee is just very clearly uneasy by this interaction, so that has gotten her kind of like, what is happening? So she knew that she was on the edge of something dangerous, thinking that while the two men look very similar in face, they could not be more different. And we obviously know that it's because his dad is a fucking creep. Well, her dad too. All the dads are creeps. Just different kind of creeps. So anyways, she bows and apologizes for waking him. He smiles and tells her that it's not a problem. He then says goodnight and closes the door. Sen asks Lee what he told his father, and Lee relaxes and grimaces, and he says that he told his dad what his dad wanted to hear, that she is someone that he met in town. She is then like really shocked that his dad is happy about him bringing strangers to the house. She's like, the fuck? That's crazy. Basically like, your dad wants you to bring strange girls home, and he says he actually wishes I would bring strange girls home more frequently. So Lee asks if he can go see her side of the house, but she tells him that he will in fact die if he tries to do that. Basically saying like, my dad does not in fact want strangers in the house, so do not come over. Okay, cool, we'll meet tomorrow. He thanks her and calls her by her name, and she feels that her name has taken on a new meaning in her mouth, or in his mouth. A mouth, someone's mouth, meanings, etc. So anyways, Lee, it's been a week now, and James has still not been found. He's like periodically like Googling like missing NYU student.
Is this like right after Sen, or is this like gone back a little bit to like, this is like a little bit flashback in time?
This is present day. It's been a week. Basically,
so he's killed his roommate already.
He's killed his roommate and then immediately gets on a flight to Japan. So like within like 24 hours.
He extradited himself.
Okay.
Yeah, he has gone to Japan. He basically tells his dad that he needed to take a leave of absence from school, and his dad's like, well, your mom was just pronounced dead, so that definitely makes sense why you would want to like come and spend time with me. So that makes sense. So he's like periodically like Googling like missing NYU student, like how long does it take a body to start decomposing, because again, he doesn't know where the body is.
But also, why would you Google that, my good sir?
Girl, thanks.
I mean,
so
it's
true.
It's fine as long as he gets a new SIM card like he had wanted, but
yeah,
and he didn't. So, oops.
Okay, so let's see. He doesn't remember where he hid the body. And he really, really wishes he could remember, if for no other reason than like, he's like, I must have done a really good job at hiding this body because no one has found it yet, and I wish I knew like what impressive thing I did to like hide this body type of thing. So he's starting to feel silly for even worrying about being caught in the first place. Lee then wonders if he had if they had all been right about him. Basically, like, people treat me like a monster, maybe I am a monster. So let's see. Basically, he thinks that everyone was right about his mother being a monster, and so maybe Lee maybe he's wrong about his mother, and that everyone is right about Lee, type of thing. I don't know. There's like monster shit happening. So the morning, that morning he shares a really awkward coffee with his father. He asks about Sen, what's her name, is she a student? Lee tells him that her family owns several old katanas and he was interested in seeing one, before telling his father that they were absolutely not doing anything weird with said katana. Because he's like really worried that he's like, it's the middle of the night, I have a girl in my room, And she has a sword out. My dad thinks I'm into weird, kinky sword play in the bedroom. So he's very much like, she was just bringing it over for me to look at. I swear, we weren't doing weird sex stuff with the katana.
Just the fact that he had to, like, felt the need to explain that.
Yeah, his dad just kind of, like, laughs and just tells Lee he's happy for him.
You don't know what you're missing, son.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
It basically says, like, I'm happy for you and your life is going to be a lot easier this way. And Lee takes this to mean that his dad assumed he was gay, and his dad is really happy that he's not gay, and he's just kind of honestly getting really mad about this. He, to the point where he is thinking about just throwing his scalding hot coffee in his dad's face. His dad tells Lee that he's very sure that Lee is going to have a lot of fun in Japan because Japanese girls are very special. He then smirks at Lee as if they're sharing some type of joke. His dad then leans in and whispers that it's fine to have preferences even if people tell you it's not. Lee wants to rip his father's eyes out and smash them on the floor.
Same.
Yeah. And basically, that isn't how Lee has seen Hina or any of his dad's girlfriends, and that's not how he sees Sen, because she's so much more important and interesting than just a pretty face. So he is very much like, I don't see Hina as just a special tiny lady. Like, I never saw any of your other girlfriends that way either. Like, they have all been, like, nice people, like Hina especially, and, like, that's all you care about is just that they're cute and tiny. Like, that. So he's fuming.
Shove them in a suitcase.
Right. So Lee doesn't normally feel this type of anger towards his father, but now he's having a really hard time forcing his face to be polite, and, like, honestly so fucking relatable. Also at this point Lee is off his meds. Like, from the first time he sees Sen, he, like, dumps his meds, partially because he's worried that he's hallucinating Sen, so he wants to basically eliminate that that sort of factor in there so he can know that, like, hey, this is actually happening type of thing. But him not being on his meds is now making it really difficult to control his face and his anger towards his father, especially in this
The withdrawals.
particular situation. Yeah. So let's see. When Lee looks at Sen, his mind is filled with questions. Why was she trained as a samurai? Why had she confronted him? Why had she confronted what she thought was a ghost? Why hadn't she killed him on sight when that was so clearly what she wanted to do? His father sees a woman with a katana and all he thinks is how pretty she is. But he's just like, she's so interesting. Like, her eyes are so, like, sharp. And he's just like, I just want to know everything about her. And you are just like, she's hot. And he's like, he's just so mad about his dad being a fucking creep. So fast forward through some bits here. Lee is curious why Sen has come to him, why that particular door is a door between worlds, and that it only works sometimes. He hypothesizes that there must be some connection between him and Sen. He ends up making a spreadsheet so that he can track what is happening when the door is open. So, like, what days is it opening? What times of day is it opening? Is it raining? Like, he's just has a spreadsheet where he's like, every time the door's open, he's going to, like, notate these things, because he is just so curious about so many things. And he's like, first things first, let me figure out why and how this door is even working and why me and Sen are able to interact, basically.
It's that closet door that had, like, a just wall behind it.
Yeah. And sometimes the wall is still there, and sometimes it opens into Sen's room. And so he's like, I want to know why the door opens, but only sometimes. Like, what is the factor causing the door to open?
So far it's only been at night, right?
Yes.
And I know he had said that, like, come back tomorrow, we'll go to City Hall, Town Hall, whatever. We'll see if that's going to be the case. But
It is. So let's see. He also has this moment to himself where he's thinking of her eyes and how different she is from anyone else he's ever known. He thinks to himself that people fear him, and they don't actually see him, and Sen fears nothing, and she is able to see him. So when Sen returns, Lee thinks that she looked celestial in the pale moonlight, but there were no shadows to hide her tired eyes. She wore a cinched robe of a warrior. She had tied her hair back harshly as if to counteract the way the sunlight softened her cheeks and warmed her eyes with gold. Methinks my guy is smitten. So he asks if she's hungry, thinking to himself that like people are simple, they're just like dogs. If I feed her, she's going to trust me more, type of thing. So he's like, "Oh, are you hungry? Like we can have lunch before we go."
It's a normal thought to have. People are like dogs.
Right. He's also so lying to himself because he keeps thinking like she's an animal. I've trapped her in a cage. I'm going to study her. And it's like, no, you're not. Like he thinks that the only reason he's interacting with her is to get something from her, but like no, you're not. You like her. Like you like her at minimum in a curiosity type of situation, but there's nothing about you that wants to use her. You're just telling yourself that you're going to use her. But like you actually are, curious about her. Like you actually like her. So
it's more than just trying to figure out her history. He's smitten.
He is. And he like is obsessed with her eyes, which I love so much.
So I was just gonna say that one of the books that I read for I reread for June past month, Dangers in My Heart, where like the main character is like truly like he's like an edgelordy middle schooler. He is really not likable for the first several chapters because in his inner monologue he's just I'm so twisted. I'm reading like books about serial killers in the middle of class and no one understands me and blah blah blah, and the prettiest girl in class, I want to kill her so bad. I just want to watch the blood like seep from her. And like no, he's just really into her. He doesn't understand his own feelings because he doesn't want to admit to like he's a teenager.
Yeah.
So it's really good about helping him understand his himself more over the course of the series. But that's kind of what I'm getting from Lee, is not so much like serial killer, but like he's trying to convince himself he's edgier, he's cooler, he's smarter than other people, but really it's just like some kind of hyping himself up. Maybe he's got a little bit of mental illness from his mom that's not fully coming through. I'm just I'm grasping at straws here.
So a lot of what I would say is Lee's mom seemed to understand him and love him very deeply. We're going to get a little bit more into that, so we could perhaps question if that is true. I would say that she did love him very deeply. And now that she's gone, he feels like nobody understands him. His dad won't look at him. His grandma would rather drug him than spend time with him. Like, he's never had friends. People look at him and they are afraid of him. So part of it is just that everybody has more or less ostracized him his whole life. So he just feels like there must be something wrong with him, right? Like, if nobody wants to be around me, they must see something about me that I don't see about myself. So if everyone's treating me like a monster, maybe I am a monster. So that's also part of it, is he doesn't think that he's likable at all. So he is just sort of like, I can't have relationships with people. Like, I can't form connections with people, so I must be interacting with them in a way to like manipulate or use them, because that's how people treat me. So that must be the fact, right?
Hurt people don't always hurt people.
Right.
They hurt themselves. I don't know.
Right. Like, I don't necessarily know one way or another, but he has always felt like even his dad's girlfriends haven't liked him, that they were just nice to him because like I'm their boyfriend's son. But like they don't know that my dad doesn't actually like me very much either, so like they don't have to be nice to me. Like my dad doesn't care one way or another. But I feel like we know enough just from like being on Reddit and reading people's stories that like the girlfriend doesn't always just treat the kid nicely just because he's there, right? Like,
I was thinking that's kind of like a step kid, parents, new girlfriends. That's like a mindset anyways, is their perception, but also I don't want them to be my new parent. I don't want them to replace the one that I had. So it's like a little bit of both. But then yeah, we've seen the new parent figure truly not liking the person, but they have the kid is like absolutely clueless.
Right. Okay. So Lee asks if Sen's hungry, etc., etc. She tells him that she's not hungry, but obviously we know that she is in fact starving. He takes her to the kitchen anyways and fixes them both bowls of miso soup. She's pretty antsy about being on Lee's side of the house. Just besides the fact that it's obviously the house that she's lived in and it now is vastly different. But also she's just always suspicious of everybody at all times.
Fair.
Hina comes into the kitchen, and when she sees Sen, she very quickly bows to Sen. Like, she seems startled, and then she bows. And then Sen returns the bow, but she's making, like, really aggressive eye contact with Hina. Lee notes that when Hina rises from her bow, like, all of the brightness is out of her face. Her face is oddly gray. Lots of things are oddly gray. Lee introduces them, and there's just silence between the two. Lee finds it really odd because Hina is always, again, just super cheerful and bubbly. She's also incredibly hospitable, but she is actively, like, glaring at Sen right now.
Okay, she's already becoming a boy mom.
Right. So she's glaring at Sen, and then she looks at Lee and in English asks if they're going into town. And Hina only uses English when his dad is around. So the fact that she's asking Lee this in English is, like, very strange for Lee. He confirms in Japanese, like, yes, we're going into town. And then in English again, she says she needs to leave that behind, referencing the katana, before turning to Sen and telling her that she can't carry a katana in public because it's illegal. Lee is worried that Sen won't want to continue their arrangement if Sen finds out that there are no more samurai in 2026. Sen is obviously really aggravated about just sort of this interaction, but also having to leave her katana. She does, in fact, take the katana off, though. Hina tells them to have fun before disappearing into the shadows of the hallway.
That's probably a damn culture shock.
Sen asks Lee if the samurai, about the samurai, and he confirms that they did not come back. He can see the agony on her face, so he tries to comfort her by telling her that they are still remembered through movies, books, and that there is a museum, like a samurai museum in Japan. So he's like, even people in America know about samurai, like, they're such a big thing. And if everyone, hang on, wait. Okay. So yeah, anyways, so he's like, just samurai is such a big thing. And she kind of looks at him kind of odd and then smiles and tells him that some things are just better left in the past. So back over to Sen, we're having a little bit of flashback here. Long ago, Sen's mother sacrificed her to the sea. When Sen was 5, and had just been given her first katana, after spending a day chopping down sugarcane, Sen very excitedly wanted to show her mother what her father had taught her that day. Sen's mother very much wanted nothing to do with samurai stuff or katana stuff. Like, she very much just is a boy mom, so to speak. So she, like, is like, I would rather, like, coddle your baby brother because you're lost to your dad and you're, like, a big violent weirdo and I want nothing to do with you. So Sen, like, baby Sen is very much like, let me show you, and mom's like, I fucking think not. So Sen holds her sword really up high in the air, and her mom is, like, frightened by this, but Sen is like, well, I have her attention now. So she goes through the motions that she had wanted to show her mother with the sword. Her mom very stiffly goes, well done, before, like, immediately exiting with the baby. Sen knew that the praise was a lie, but she treasured it anyways. A week later, her baby brother had come down with smallpox. One night, Sen's mother had carried her out to the sea. Her mother hadn't held her that close for a really long time, so Sen hugged her mom as closely as she could. Crying, her mom knelt on the shore, holding Sen. She whispered a prayer to the local dragon god, asking them to accept her offering to save her son. Sen remembers the cold ocean, how cold the ocean was as it took her from her mother's arms. Sen's arms became tangled in long black hair before a woman emerged from the darkness of the sea, holding Sen close. The woman whispered, "This lonely child is mine." Sen woke up on the beach the next morning and walked home. The next day, her brother's fever broke and he very swiftly became better. Sen's mother told her that it was all just a dream, but Sen knows when people lie, and since then, Sen has been living on stolen time from the sea. On the way into town, Lee apologizes for Hina's behavior. Sen thinks about Hina's eyes. She had never seen a gaze so sharp. Sen couldn't read Hina at all, but she knew an enemy when she saw one. As they were making their way downtown, Sen is taking in a lot of different things. Obviously, the buildings, the like roads. She is so looking at everything that she trips and starts to fall into a gutter. She's behind Lee, but Lee hears her trip and he turns around and he like grabs her arm before she falls. And like kind of lifts her up and steadies her. She is expecting Lee to start like yelling at her for not paying attention to where she's going. But instead he's just like frozen with a look of shock on his face. And he's just staring intently behind her. And she realizes it's because the town is gone. They are standing alone on white sand. Above them, the sky is an ominous gray. Sen can taste the storm on the wind. The earth begins to rumble. A dark wave crests the horizon, roaring towards them. Lee is frozen, watching the wave. Sen tears her arm out of his hand. She looked at Lee and wondered what he was. Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, clearly you're something strange. Clearly I'm something strange. Like, what is going on here? She then tells Lee that they probably shouldn't touch.
I'm assuming the town came back after they let go. Yeah, time anomaly.
Yeah, it's like a tsunami like level wave, like fucking gigantic.
Yep.
So let's see. Probably shouldn't touch. Lee looked at his hand, confused, before telling her that she must be some type of bridge and that he's going to find out like what the hell is going on. So they make their way over to the archive. Sen tells the woman behind the counter that she's there for her family's koseki. She presents her wooden passport, but the woman just looks really confused and asks for Sen's ID. Lee basically tells the lady that they're there for Sen's grandmother's funeral. They found the wooden passport amongst her grandma's things, and she was hoping that that ID would be enough to identify her as part of the family. The lady is basically like, I need to see your ID anyways. So Sen immediately is, first of all, she's like very impressed with how smoothly and well Lee is just immediately lies to this woman. So she's not to be outdone. She immediately starts crying, like, I'm so sorry for wasting everyone's time. My father would be so ashamed of me for like being so careless. And so she's just like basically blubbering. And then the woman's like, well, this does prove that you're related to that family. You can't take the copy, but I'll go make one for you so you can look at it, but you can't let it leave the archive. And so basically when the lady walks away, like Sen like smiles at him and like wipes the tears away from under her eyes. And
She
she's
must be a Cancer.
right. But she's also just very much like, I'm a female samurai in a time where there are no female samurai. Like, I have to have other weapons than just my blade type of thing. So anyways, the lady brings out the copy of the koseki. Sen looks it over, and then without a word, she walks out of the archive. Lee asks what happened, if she found what she had been looking for. Sen confirmed that she did, but she wished that she hadn't because her whole family will be dead in 3 days.
Oh, damn.
When Sen gets home, she asks Lee if wait, hang on. Okay, sorry. When Sen gets home, like back to her side of the house in her time, she asks her dad if they should leave and go somewhere else. Her father tells her that there is nowhere else for them to go, and they can't run forever either way. She asks for forgiveness, but tells him that she's worried for his safety. That if they were found by spies, because basically her dad is like, I found a spy in the woods, but I was able to take care of him. And she's like, but if spies have found us, it doesn't matter if you killed them or not. Like, it's only a matter of time before the army's going to show up, right? Because whoever sent the spy is going to know that the spy didn't come back. So basically we're on borrowed time at this point. Like, you killed someone who was supposed to report back to someone else. So we know that her father is an incredibly calm and reasonable man. So he picks her up by her hair and throws her into the wall. He tells her that a samurai does not make decisions on feelings, they take orders. He tells her that she is not a mind, she's a weapon without a soul or a heart to lose to death. that she already is dead. He tells her that if she asks to leave again, it will be the last question that she ever asks. And then I think this could potentially be a good stopping point for the episode. So if we want to wrap up with any questions, and then we'll do a part 2 because this one is kind of long and Nick needs a break on editing 3-hour episodes.
Yeah, I can see that being a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at 1:45 now, so
But
still good.
questions, comments, concerns?
No, I know you've said something about like soldiers like after them.
Yeah, so basically, not only is it illegal to like have a katana and be a samurai, like anybody who is part of the rebellion, if they know that they're not dead, they're coming after them and their whole family, because the whole entire thing is to like eradicate the samurai, like period.
The whole
All of them.
lineage.
Yeah, so wiping out families, and that's why like her cousins were all like slaughtered and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily just about protecting her father either, because if the soldiers come, they're going to do really heinous things to every single one of them, including her toddler brother and her mom and stuff like that. So that's kind of what the issue is. And part of a reason why Sen won't just up and leave is because she doesn't want her dad to have to fight alone. Like, I can't abandon my father. I'll follow him into hell. Like, I'm part of him. She's very much like
It's also very
enmeshed with
honorable.
her dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also that.
Yeah, because like in Japanese culture, like your family's very important, and there's an honor in that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a samurai, raised to be a samurai, like your honor is everything.
Yeah.
I assumed that there was like a historical context to it that
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
I don't necessarily know the full historical context, but I'm assuming that the samurai revolt is like an actual historical thing. I have to just assume that that's probably what it is. So, you could definitely like take a look-see at that. But
Do a quick look. So there was definitely a time where like when samurais got kind of outlawed.
yeah,
Insert here.
future
Insert
Nick,
here.
insert words and things.
Make more work for my future self. Suck it up.
As the samurai were outlawed as a social class by the Japanese government during 1870s through the conscription law of 1873 and the Haito Edict of March 28, 1976, the Meiji government banned carrying swords in public and ended their monopoly on military service to modernize Japan. The abolition of the samurai was driven by both economic and political factors. Financial strain, the government could no longer afford the hereditary stipends paid to the vast samurai class. Modernization to prevent Japan from falling to Western powers. The government built a modern Western-style standing army based on universal conscription. The sword ban, the 1876 Haitoi Edict, made it illegal for former samurai, known as shizoku, to wear their traditional daisho swords in public, stripping away their defining symbol of status and privilege. These reforms devastated the warrior class and led to several armed uprisings, most notably the Satsuma Rebellion of 1877, the defeat of the samurai by imperial conscripts wielding modern firearms effectively ended the era of the warrior class. Today, carrying swords in Japan is strictly regulated by firearms and swords control law.
Nick, you want to hit us with any of your predictions?
Partial prediction, partial question. Has Hina interacted with Lee's father at all?
Not. Yes, yeah. There's definitely scenes where they're sitting down together.
I know you cut a lot of Lee stuff out in favor of Sen.
Yeah, no, but there is definitely interactions between the two. And then again, she was dating her father prior to them moving to Japan. So like she met his father in America and she talked him into moving to Japan.
From your right, like your version of telling us, they have not met. So in my mind, that just it goes to, is she real? Is she a figment of Lee's imagination?
There are interactions between Hina and people who aren't just Lee and Sen, though. So
I trust.
okay.
That's all I got for right now. I got a lot of questions, but there's a part 2 coming.
All right. Send us out, Nick.
I think I'm learning Japanese. But it's actually Korean. Damn Duolingo AI.
Nice.
You can learn Hyperion and we've had this discussion.
Yesterday. No, 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Time's not real.
No.
Okay.
Bye!
My name is Lee Turner, and time's not real because I'm on Ativan. Bye!
Bye.
Wait, that's so true.